Hi guys, and welcome back to the May, June, July, August, September supply drop. So I realised that I was never going to catch up on the monthly supply drops, and in truth I hadn't been buying all that much, mainly just a few bits and bobs for the Haladonian Armed Forces. So I'm just going to catch up all in one go with the kits that I've got. So let's have a look and see what's in the almost TARDIS-like box. So we've got the Arpitalang 502, which is the round brush number 1. Yeah, I've always had good results when I've used these brushes in the past. They're very good quality. And the Delta Premium Kolinsky Red Sable size 10-0 round. So this is very, very tiny and really mainly for eyes. And maybe sometimes webbing or strapping. I find I tend to need a very, very small fine brush to do all that stuff. Some blades for the hobby knife. And then 1/72nd scale Willys Jeep. There's 2 in the box. It's a 2-pack, and I got 2 packs, so that's 4. And I think I've got another box of these in the stash, so that's maybe 6. The Harrier, which is the Haladonian ground support attack aircraft of choice. So 2 of those. Love the Harrier, it's just a gorgeous plane. I've been in love with it since I first saw it in real life on the news, so it just reminded me of Thunderbird 2 with the VTOL. And then just some paints. Some of these are just random replenishing supplies. So some metallic paints. And then some of these, the blues are for my Napoleonic Cuirassier. And I think from memory, as we pull them out of the bag, the rest are just restocks for stuff that I've run out of along the way. And now, in the TARDIS-like box, we've got some MiG-21s. Now, these are the fighter interceptor of choice for the Haladonian Air Force. Remembering that Haladonia is probably about 20 years ahead of the curve technologically, so a formidable force to throw up against propeller planes. So we've got 4 of the fish bed MiGs. And then I've got this MiG-19, mainly for testing purposes, because I want to put lights in the MiGs, the same as I did in the tank, so we'll see how we go. Right, let's get all this out on the bench. Nice! Just trying to give a bit of a close-up of both the brushes, so quite good fine points, especially on the 10-0. And the Arpitalang is feels like a really solid brush, if that makes sense, so it should hold the paint really well. I've got the Pro Edge number 11 double honed blades, 5 in the pack, so I've got a couple of packs of those made in the US of A. These are super duper sharp, and really like having a nice clean fresh sharp blade when I start a project. Then we have the 1/72nd scale Italeri Willys Jeep, and there's 2 Jeeps in the kit. And again, as it says on the box, especially developed for wargame use, so they're pretty simple, as we'll see in a second. The art on the back of the box has just got a few different, well, I guess they're colour schemes. That won't apply to the Haladonian. They'll be in the normal Haladonian livery, the same as the Pershing tanks were. But yeah, nice crisp looking little kit. We'll have a look at the actual sprues in a sec. As you'd expect with a twin pack, there are 2 sprues for each vehicle, and 2 lots of those. Look, reasonable detail for 1/72nd scale small vehicle. I don't think there'll be any lights going in here. I can't see an obvious way of doing that. So Jeeps might just be Jeeps in the Haladonian army, but should be pretty straightforward to put together. And in fact, I'm incredibly tempted to get cracking on these straight away. So it might be the next thing you actually see which means that would push me down the lines of doing the Haladonian Recon unit, which has got a couple of other armoured vehicles in there as well, and some troops. So yep, that might be the next thing off the bat, I think. So on to the M21, the fish bed from Academy Hobby Model Kits, 1/72nd scale, and this will be the first squadron of the Haladonian Air Force. And yeah, I just like the look of these. They were designed in the 50s, probably didn't come off the manufacturing line until towards the end of the 50s. So it's about the right technological timeline for Haladonian Army or Armed Forces. Just like the look of them, I think they would be a pretty scary sight if you were flying around in a propeller plane back in 1939, 1940. Looking forward to doing these, getting some lights in them ideally is part of the plan, so we'll see how that goes. And no artwork of any particular interest on the MiG-21 box either. The MiG-21's only got the 2 sprues, and again, from my uneducated eye, they look fine. It should be a really simple kit to put together, and it looks like there's plenty of clearance in the fuselage for my lighting, so hopefully that comes out okay. The decals are pretty rudimentary. The canopy is nice and clear. Again, doubtful whether I'll use any of these decals, but then again, I do like the look of the, I think it's a Black Panther, so that might get woven into the Haladonian story somehow. So we've got the 1/72nd scale MiG-19S, nickname Farmer, and that's Mr. Craft Hobby Kits, and I must confess I've never heard of Mr. Craft Hobby Kits, but quite looking forward to getting stuck into it. There's nothing of particular interest on the back of this box, just some other products, so I won't do any free advertising for them. The main reason I got the MiG-19 is I want to use it as my prototype. I'd like to put lights in the Haladonian jets, and I wanted one to practice on because I learnt from bitter experience with the tanks that my first attempt was a bit of a classic fail, and cost me having a tank that I could light up. So on the downside, I can completely muck this up. I think it only costs $10 Australian, so it's almost no money in any other country. Worst case scenario, it's a complete cock up and it goes in the bin. Best case scenario is I get it to be a reasonably good job and learn how to do the lighting and fit it in the fuselage and get the wires where I want them to go. And then if it gets through that, this will be the personal jet of the Air Marshal of the Haladonian Air Force. There's 3 sprues to the MiG-19S, and again, look, I don't know very much about planes. It would be just over 40 years since I last attempted to make a plane, so for my uneducated eye, they look nice and crisp and the detail looks nice. I know people who know what they're talking about talk about raised panel lines and recessed panel lines and what have you. I'm not there at that stage at this point in time, so yeah, that's the first sprue here with the 2 halves of the fuselage and the tail. Then we've got some other bits which sort of will be attached to the plane somewhere. And finally some other bits that go on the plane and some munitions. Lots of decals and the clear canopy, which looks nice and clear and can't see a seam line in that. Doubt whether I'll use many of the decals, but I might use some of them along with some homemade ones as well. And then we have the Harrier GR3, which is nicknamed Falkland, 1/72nd scale from Italeri. And look, I know this is probably pushing the boundaries of the technological timeline, but I just love them, and I thought what would be a more fitting ground support aircraft than a VTOL Harrier. I don't know why, maybe because I was a young kid when I first saw them, and I can remember seeing some footage of, I think, a Harrier on joint exercises somewhere in Germany with NATO, and it was taking off from a forest clearing, and I immediately thought it was Thunderbird 2 taking off vertically as it did, so always been in love with them. I will make a larger scale one at some stage in the future for that very reason. So couldn't resist, and I thought a couple of these attached to the ground forces would be a fairly daunting prospect for any enemy forces that came up against them. So really looking forward to doing these. and keen to see how they turn out. The back of the box shows illustrations for a couple of paint schemes, the number 1 squadron in Norway, winter 1986, and the number 4 squadron from HMS Hermes in Cottesmore 1982. I haven't actually made up my mind what the paint scheme will be for the Haledonian Air Force. I was talking with Steve a couple of days ago, and my thinking is because they would have been fairly untouchable in the skies and not necessarily needing to be uber camouflaged, there's a part of me that wants to let the pilot personality come out for each of the planes and just let them be painted whatever way they like. And then the more traditionalist in me says there should be a standard paint scheme across all of them. So I haven't made my mind up yet, and in fact might seek your help as viewers and subscribers as to whether they should be more traditionally military camouflaged or whether they could be better up a little bit more theatrical and flamboyant based on pilot personality. I'll see what your comments are and take it all on board. The Harrier looks to be a slightly more complex beast, and again, my uneducated eye, but the plastic looks to be a little bit better quality, and that's really subjective, but quite a few more pieces to put together on this one. There is a 2-part glass canopy for the Harrier, which again looks fairly clear, and lots of decals and lots of little bits and bobs. So I think I might pirate a number of those across all the aircraft just to add a little bit of interest in places along the way. But look to be nice quality, far better than the other 2 sets that I've shown so far. And we'll just have a look at the paints as we whiz around here. So we've got some flat flesh and some off-white, the German field grey, we've got the Panzer Aces dark rubber, sky blue, which I'll be using for the Cuirassier, and some dark Prussian blue, and then we've got the metal colours there, gold, pale burnt metal, and brass. And that's pretty much it. So once again, thank you all for watching. Appreciate you taking the time to do that. Really look forward to your comments, particularly give me your thoughts on the MiG-21. Should they be in more traditional camouflage, or should they be in a little bit more theatrical paint schemes? So like if you liked, sub if you're not already subscribed, so you can keep up with all the new releases. And look forward to your comments. Thanks guys for your time, and take care all. Bye.